I mean, I'm kind of enjoying the fan. I need to do headshots. Okay, I guess I'm ready. I guess I actually have to do the recap, so I should probably turn off the fan. It looks so good, like 90s J-Lo. Hi everyone, I'm Dani Walker. I was Miss Montana USA 2018, and today is my Miss Venezuela Universe 2019 recap. If you're new to my channel and haven't already subscribed, make sure that you do so, as well as hit that notifications bell and follow me on social media at Dani Walker. Miss Venezuela has a special place in my heart because this was the first national pageant for the Miss Universe system that I saw besides the Miss USA competition. When I was preparing for Miss USA, I had heard about Miss Venezuela and I started watching the shows and following their national pageants, and I was so blown away by the women and all the work that the production puts into not only the contestants but the staging, the wardrobe. It just blew my mind, so I love watching Miss Venezuela. Now we're gonna talk about my thoughts for this year's show. So obviously the organization is a little bit different now that we have new leadership. Osmel Sousa had been directing the pageant for years. After he left, I was curious to see what kind of changes we would see. Regardless of his absence, I think that we still see a lot of the traditions followed for the Miss Venezuela organization. Like, for example, in the opening of the show, when the girls come out and they all sort of like lip sync and dance to Miss Venezuela, I think that's so fun. It kind of reminds me of how they used to sing the Miss America song at the end of the Miss America pageant, or at some point in that pageant. And I kind of like that tradition and that nostalgia. And I like that you have lots of time to see the contestants. When I first saw this show, I didn't love the opening number outfits until I saw a close-up of them, and then I realized that the dresses that each of the girls were wearing had their titles on it and what region they were representing. So I thought that was such a nice touch. I also happen to love the massive earrings that all the girls were wearing, or like earpieces, whatever that was. They're not competing necessarily at that point. They're not technically being scored. So I didn't mind seeing something more crazy and over the top. And I thought it was really fun how all of the girls had those different custom pieces. I'm curious how they put those together and who made all of those. One thing I noted that was different was that we didn't get the best face shots of the girls during the opening production, where I feel like normally we see a lot of their faces during the show. The cameras just seem to be moving really quickly, and personally I prefer when we get to see a close-up of each of the contestants. Before we get into swimsuit and gown and the rest of the show, make sure that you stick around till the end of this episode, because I will be giving away my free dress guide that you can use to help you find your dream dress for your next competition. Let's talk about swimsuit now. So I literally just watched the show, and for the first time ever, I wanted to do a little bit of a reaction post to it, and I'm so glad that I did. And if you guys like this, then let me know and I can do this for other shows. Let's just cut right into it. Why is she behind the water? Okay, I'm liking these swimsuits. Hold on. Wait a second. I need to rewind that for a second. Hold on. What did I just see? What is that? Yo, there's literally a bushman. There's like a bushman that's handing them flowers. Like, why is that? Okay. She's in the rain again. Can't see her face. Oh, very artistic. Very artistic situation. Wow. Okay. They're doing that again. Like, why? This is like Miss Venezuela / Bachelorette. Why are they behind the water with the spotlight reflecting? You can't even see their face. This is my favorite thing ever. Whose idea was this? Who did this? Oh, he was really into that one. There's like an extension, like an arm extension going on there. I'm sorry, I like literally can't even pay attention to the girls right now. It's like they're gonna go hunting. This is beyond camo. This person is literally the bush. I don't even know what to say. Whose idea was the bushman? Please comment bushman down below if you were so confused. I can't imagine this being suggested in a production meeting where they're like, you know what? I know what we should do for the show. Let's dress up some people as the bushes and have them hand the girls flowers through interpretive dance. Who in the world decided this? It's a gift really to me. Like, I mean, I quite enjoyed it and really switching things up a little bit, but this was a little much for me. Moving on to the girls. Let's just talk about the girls. You know what, we need to talk about them. Quick list of favorites. I can't even concentrate right now. Apure, I thought that she was really natural on stage and had great eye contact. Bolivar, she was really cute in her green swimsuit. I thought that the green looked so great on her. I'm still thinking about it. Our winner and queen, how do I say it? Delta Amacuro, struggling over here. She had a really great ponytail flip, and the thing that I noticed was that her lips did not stick to her hair, which as a girl, I was like, that's just super impressive. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about on those windy days when you decide to wear lip gloss and then you realize you made a poor choice. I thought that her entire routine was very clean and she just nailed her poses and her eye contact. I felt like the difference between her and other contestants when I thought about everything was that meaningful eye contact, like the way that she was making eye contact with the camera and the judges. I felt like you could see it in her eyes that she was so there to win. She was just like, yes, like I am Miss Venezuela Universe. Distrito Capital, she had so much energy on stage, which I really liked, and so it was clear for me why she ended up moving on and placing in the top 5. Falcon, she was very pretty. Those were my notes, was that when I looked at her, I was like, this girl is stunning. Miss Lara had some great facial expression, and I think that's so important, especially at the Miss Universe level, is to be making sure that your face is moving and you're not just like this, like a doll. It's like scary on stage. I had that same note for Monagas. Nueva Esparta, she was really fun and natural. That's what I actually noticed this year versus other years. I feel like sometimes with international pageants, it gets this like very pageanty type of walk or look or poses. So I'm actually more of a fan of the girls that just seem to be having fun versus being rehearsed on stage. Yara Cui reminded me a little bit in her profile of Natasha Martinez, who was a former Miss California USA. I don't know if you guys kind of caught that or thought that, but let me know, what do you think? So I was obsessed with Miss Zulia. I don't know if any of you were as well, but I thought she was so stunning. The only thing that struck me was that her styling was like Stephanie's last year. I was like, oh, I wonder if that's gonna hurt her, because it's a little strange to see countries crowning like the same type of girl back to back. Sometimes people complain about that, but I thought she was so facially beautiful on stage and I was such a fan of her. If you're watching this episode on a mobile device, make sure that you screenshot it, post it to an Instagram story, and tag me at Dani Walker with your thoughts. One thing that I wanted to mention during the show that I loved was that we saw Pia, Demi, Zuleika, and Olivia all make a little cameo during the show where they wish the contestants good luck, and they also sent just their thoughts and prayers out to those contestants as well as the country of Venezuela, because we know that there's a lot of turmoil going on, especially during the time of the pageant. I thought that that was a really nice thing that they added to the show, and I love seeing formers and how they're doing, and I like that the formers had that opportunity to pass on a little bit of advice to all of the contestants, especially during this time in their country's history. And I thought that was a really, really nice touch. That was beautiful. What did you guys think? Did you like that too? Now I want to talk about my favorite thing ever, which is gowns. So in Venezuela, we have seen a lot of, I would say, over-the-top dresses. I feel like that is a standard in Venezuela. So I was a little bit surprised when we saw Amazonas walk out and her gown was really plain. That struck me. I wonder if we're seeing a change in direction for the types of dresses that do well in Venezuela. The other thing I want to note is I didn't happen to notice any of the girls with the Gianni dress, and Gianni designed multiple gowns for Miss Venezuela contestants, as also Miss Venezuela title holders and Miss Universes. So it was really striking for me to see that, I don't think so, at least, unless I missed it, that he wasn't dressing any of the contestants this year, but I don't know how that works. So if you guys understand the process of how these contestants get their gowns, please let me know. Like, is this an out-of-pocket expense for them? Are they getting sponsorship? I'm really curious about how the girls get dressed for the competition, because I know how it is in the US, but I really don't know how the gowns reach the stage for this pageant. So I loved Apure's dress. I thought it was stunning when she came out. Granted, it is one of those just rhinestone dresses that we see a lot of in pageants, but the white really popped on her skin and then all the rhinestones stood out. I can only imagine how great it looked on stage. So when I saw her come out in that dress, I was like, yes, I loved it. Barinas, her last name is Goncalves, which is just like Vanessa Goncalves, who won Miss Venezuela Universe Universe several years ago, and I was wondering if there's any connection between the two. And the other thing about it was that the details on her dress were very similar to the gown that Vanessa wore when she won Miss Venezuela. So I was like, that's so interesting. The same last name, then the same rhinestone embellishments on the dress. And that just sort of struck me as either a really big coincidence or maybe it was on purpose. Do you guys happen to have more information about that? If you do, comment below. When our new queen came out on stage in her gown, for me, that was the first wow gown of the night. That not only was it in true Venezuela style and fashion where it was a bit over the top, but I thought that it looked so great on her and it looked great on the stage. And then her performance on top of that, once again, she had that like eye of the tiger drive in her eyes. I wish she would have changed the hairstyle. I just wasn't a fan of the ponytail with that dress, but I know that once your hair is like that in a ponytail for swim, it is really hard to have that hair transition. So I totally understand that from a contestant's point of view. And I thought like hair up was still a good choice because of the higher neck of the gown, but I still would have liked the dress styled with something, just maybe not a ponytail, maybe if it was a bun, or maybe if they were able to bring the hair back down, but just something a little bit different for that. But obviously that's such a small thing, and you know, her performance on its, you know, it stood on its own and you didn't need to have necessarily that hair change. But if I'm being particular, Distrito Capital. So I was a little bit confused when she walked out. I was like, what's happening right now with that thing, the piece of her dress wrapped around her? I just couldn't believe it. I wish she would have removed that just a little bit sooner because I was just confused for a little too long. But when she did bring down that piece, it was stunning. To me, that's a very Venezuela type of dress. Those big ruffle details in the back and then the full embellishments, like everything about that to me just really reminded me of just like a classic Venezuelan like beauty queen. And I loved it. I love the color. I thought it was so beautiful. It was so pretty. And it was a really great choice for her. Overall, I want to note that the contestants who wore ball gowns during this show seemed to have a lot of difficulty walking in that dress. Like the ball gowns looked really heavy and really stiff, and I think that's really important for girls to consider and think about when you're competing, is that you don't choose a dress that makes it so difficult to walk that it affects your actual walk and your performance. I was such a fan of Monaga's last pose when she finished and looked at the camera. I thought that was so great. I just loved how it looked on stage and on film. To me, Portuguesa, her gown was so red carpet, celebrity, Hollywood glam, all of that. I know that we see a lot of those fully beaded or rhinestoned neutrals or metallic dresses in pageants, but sometimes they're just done so well and they're done in the right way that I don't mind them. And I really loved the long cape sleeves, just all the embellishments of that dress and how she carried the dress, to me was so fabulous. That was one of my favorites of the night. Vargas reminded me of a gown designed by, I don't know how to really say it, Labourgeoisie? Oh gosh, I'm probably butchering that. That dress reminded me of that designer and that style, and I'm a huge fan of that designer, even though I have difficulty pronouncing the name. She just looked beautiful. Zulia was also stunning once again. It was interesting to see that she wore a headpiece, and it just reminded me so much of when Catriona wore the ear cuff and then everybody started wearing the ear cuffs, and I was like, wow, if she won Miss Venezuela Universe, I feel like girls would have started showing up to pageants with that headpiece, and it just sort of created this whole new look. I mean, I really didn't mind it that much, even in addition to her gown, which was pretty opulent, because overall she was just stunning. Last is our onstage question. So I'm gonna refer to my notes for this. My good friend Michelle, she was Miss Washington USA 2008 and she speaks Spanish. So she helped translate all of these for me. So hopefully this is gonna be a lot better than Google Translate, as you guys have seen in other episodes, which by the way, if you wanna see me struggle through those, you can check out another one of my recaps, which I'm gonna link right up here. And yeah, I do my best with the pronunciation, guys. It's a struggle. Distrito Capital, and she was basically asked, why should beauty be rewarded? What could beauty contribute to society? And this was a rough one. So she said beauty can be used as a platform to give impulse, I think, like lack of a better word, to give impulse to a message. We can forget about beauty as something internal and external. What can we do with beauty? And then she was starting to pause. With beauty, we can impulse development plans to better our country. We can impulse dramatic policy strategies. And then she really got nervous and said, I'm sorry, I'm super nervous. The host tried to be really sweet and help just kind of calm her down. She continued, well, as I was saying, beauty helps you not only get through barriers, but a platform like Miss Venezuela can be used not just in our country, a place where we know that Miss Venezuela is celebrated, but also in the world. And in the words of a beauty queen, it can always break through barriers. She really, towards the middle and end, was struggling through that answer, and I think that's what caused her placement at the very end of the pageant, which I totally understand, because you have to have a title holder who isn't going to crack under pressure in these circumstances, because she will be going on to Miss Universe and they have to be able to trust that she is prepared for that. Monagas was asked, so they were asking her, like, what are the virtues that can elevate an individual, someone in your family or in your country? What is the value that you'd like to see people have more of, and why? So she got to say, what an honor to receive this question from Caracas, because I am a huge fan. The way I interpret the question is, what would I like to see or value in humans or more in Venezuelans? During my participation, it's no secret that I was a victim of bullying, and I want to take advantage of this platform to talk to all the people who have been victims of bullying. And then her advice was, count on self-love and its power to help you transcend any barriers or criticism. Love yourself always. Like one of my teachers said to me, the secret to not die is to evolve, and you have to, or you need to, demonstrate to those bullies that you have so much to live for. What I liked about her answer was, I could tell by the way she was delivering it, she was very confident. I liked that she shared openly about the fact that she was bullied throughout the competition, and I thought that she gave some just nice encouragement and advice. She did a great job with that one. The question that our winner and queen got was in regards to strengths and weaknesses. They basically said, everyone talks about their strengths, but I want to know, what is your biggest defect or fault, or what's your biggest weakness, and how do you plan to address that, or what do you do about it? And she said her biggest fault is like any other woman. She has insecurities, and in the moment she felt scared. But the key is to overcome them and to know we are women who have much more to give, and those fears have no power over us. And we have to put ourselves in a place that we deserve to know that those things are our strengths, because it's who we are. I thought that she had a very confident answer as well, and she didn't seem to stumble over any words. And I also liked how she was really honest and said, like, in this moment, I'm scared right now. And I think that's okay. And I tell a lot of girls that, don't think that you're the only one getting nervous. Like, that's a normal human emotion, but it's all about how we manage it during pageants, to not let that overcome us, which is what she was really referencing. That was awesome. Apure, they were asking her, what can couples or parents teach their children by way of example? And she was saying that in her case, couples can teach their children lots of love and the love of God, because that's most important to her, and to teach them to love others, their friends, their neighbors, and to raise them as wise children, and at the end of the day, to be honest adults with honor. She said that Venezuelan families are full of this. They're full of love, and that's why Venezuelans never give up. And then she finished by just asking for a huge round of applause for Venezuelan families. I thought that was really great. Overall, these girls did an awesome job with these onstage questions. Lastly, Zulia. They asked her, how has participation in Miss Venezuela empowered you as a woman? And then she said, Miss Venezuela, as we all know, has evolved and is a platform to empower all women so they can be courageous. And I know right now I feel like a woman with so much power and courage, a woman who's capable of reaching for her dreams and can help others do the same. To me, feminine empowerment is super important right now in our society, because as women, we have our own ability to choose what we want to do in our life. So love yourself, value yourself, because you're all capable of choosing what you want to do to achieve your dreams. Once again, I thought that these women did a phenomenal job with the content in their answers. I thought they were very encouraging to all the young men and women out there watching the pageant. And what more can you really ask for in a title holder? They did have a really tough job selecting a representative in this case. I think that really with this top 5, you couldn't have gone wrong by choosing any of them to go on to represent Venezuela at an international pageant. So I think at that point, it comes down to, how was the girl really in interview and her overall performance, which is why I believe that Delta Amacuro ended up winning, was because she was so strong in swim and then also in gown, and I would assume in interview as well. What are your guys' thoughts? This was a really tough competition, especially understanding a little bit more about the onstage questions for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Of course, for sticking around, as promised, click the description and you're gonna find a link to my dress guide, and this is gonna help you to select your next next competition gown when you go out shopping. Aside from that, thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications button, as well as follow me on social media at Dani Walker, and to return next time for next week's episode.